Hello, and welcome to this tutorial for the board game Teotihuacan. It's a reasonably big game, and I'll skip a few details that you can easily look up in the rulebook. It's what's called a worker placement game, because you have workers and you place them on the board to have them perform actions for you. In Teotihuacan, the workers are dice. Let's start. You play 3 rounds and then the game is over. Whoever has the most points wins the game. This is the icon for points. You get some of your points during the game, some of the points at the end of each round, and maybe a few extra at the end of the game. When every player has had a turn, this white token moves up 1 space. When it reaches the black token, that will be the last turn for everyone. After that, the round is finished. There are 3 rounds in total. At the end of each round, there is a scoring for points. I'll explain that to you now, but you can always look at the board for the answer. First, players get points for the pyramid track. That's this one. The player that's the furthest ahead on the track gets 4 points. Then, each player gets points for each space that they're at. After the first round, you get 4 points per space. After the second round, you get 3 points per space. And after the last round, you get 2 points per space. For example, after the first round, player red is on space 4 of the pyramid tracks. You get 4 points per space, so player red gets 4 times 4 points, which is 16. Again, at the end of each round you get points for where you are on the pyramid track. The one in front always gets 4 extra bonus points. And then everyone moves back to the start. Then you get points for where you are on the death track. You get points for where you are on the track multiplied by the points that are written here. For example, it starts with a 5, but when during the game you remove these little houses one by one, the numbers go down. Let's pretend all these are gone. So the first number I see is 3. That means every player gets 3 points for where they are on the death track. If I'm on the 4th space, that means I get 12 points for being on the death track. Everyone stays where they are. Don't go back to the start. So again, at the end of every round, get points for where you are on the death track. And the pyramid track, of course. The last thing you get points for is your collection of masks. If you want to, you can collect masks during the game. You shouldn't get the same mask twice. And here is an overview of how many points you get based on how many masks you have. After you have received all your points for the pyramid track, the death track, and your masks, you end every round by paying cocao. In this game, your workers are dice. For each die you have, that is a 1 or a 2 or a 3, you have to pay 1 cocao. For each die that you have that's a 4 or a 5, you have to pay 2 cocao. For example, I have 3 dice. One is on 1, one is on 3, and one is on 4. So I have to pay 1, 2, 3, 4 cocao in total. For each worker I can't feed, I lose 3 points. A recap. There are 3 rounds. A round is when this white token goes from the start up to the black token. And then at the end of each round you do this scoring. Points for the pyramid track, points for the death track, and points for your mask collection. And you end by paying cocao for your workers. So, What do you do when it's your turn? There are a few things, and I'll start simple. The first thing you can do is move one of your dice 1 or 2 or 3 spaces, and then you do the action that's written on the board. Here's an example. I move my die 2 steps this space. I look at the diagram. I have one die and it's 3, so I get this, 1 stone cube. It also shows this icon, which means I upgrade my die from a 3 to a 4. That's it. You walk to a space, and you can never walk more than 3 steps, and you do whatever it says on this space. Also keep in mind you always walk clockwise, never counterclockwise. Now let me do that same thing, but I'll add a rule. For my next turn, I choose to move the same die that I used before. I'm allowed to do the other one if I want to, but I choose this one. I move 2 steps again, so I land here. But as you can see, there are other dice here. 2 from another player, and 1 that's mine. If I want to do the action that's written on the board, I first have to play cocao for each color that was there before I arrived. In this case there were 2 colors, red and yellow. So if I want to do this action, I must first pay 2 cocao to the bank. Let me repeat that. If you move to a space and you want to do the action, you must first pay cocao to the bank, 1 for each color that was there before you arrived, even if it's your own color. Then, just for the example, let me do the action. I look at the diagram again. I now have 2 dice on this space, and the lowest number is 2, so I get 2 wood. And then I upgrade one of my dice to a higher number. I'll make this one that went from a 3 to a 4, now from a 4 to a 5. So this is one of the things you can do when it's your turn. Move one of your die up to 3 steps, possibly pay some cocao, and then do the action that's written on the board. Next, another thing you can do when it's your turn is collect cocao. As you already understand by now, you need a supply of cocao to play this game. This is one way to get some. When it's my turn, I take one of my die and walk. As always, I can move 1 or 2 or 3 steps. I choose to move 3. Instead of doing the action, I say, I want to collect cocao. So I first get 1 cocao from the bank. And then I count colors that were there before I arrived. In this case I see all 4 colors, so I get 4 cocao from the bank extra. And that ends my turn. So again, go to a space, collect 1 cocao regardlessly, then collect extra cocao for every color that was already there. A recap: when it's your turn, you can either move your die and do the action, it could cost you cocao, or you move your die and collect cocao. There are 2 more things you can do when it's your turn. The first is lock yourself into a space. On the board you see these spaces with a key on them. You can go in them and get the reward it gives you. But that means you can't use that die again until you unlock it. I'll insert the 4th and last thing you can do when it's your turn here. When it's your turn, you can say you want to unlock all your locked dice. You do that, and your turn immediately ends. Again, you can skip a turn to unlock all of your dice that are locked. Now, back to locking a die. What you get for locking a die, I'm not going to explain. Each box has its own reward, and you can check the rulebook for what it does. Instead, I'll explain this. What do you do when you want to go into a locked space, but there's already another die in there? Easy. You pay 1 cocao to the bank, remove the die and put yours in it. Next, what do you do when you want to get a die out of a locked space without skipping a full turn? Just as easy. You pay 1 cocao to the bank and get it out and move it. Those are the 4 things you can do when it's your turn. 1. Move one of your dice up to 3 steps and do the action that's written on the space, and possibly pay cocao for other dice that were already there. 2. Move one of your dice up to 3 steps and do nothing to collect cocao. 3. Move one of your dice up to 3 steps and place it for free into a locked space to get its reward. And 4. Skip a turn to unlock all your locked dice. Now you know what to do, I'll explain the actions on the board. These 3 are easy. Go here to get resources. Here you get stone, here you get wood, and here you get gold. Next up is this one. It doesn't do much other than that you can go here and do nothing to collect cocao, or you lock yourself into one of these spaces to get the reward. Then we have this one. You pay 2 wood, and then you can take one of the white houses and place it on the first available space. You immediately get those points, and you can move yourself up 1 space on the death track. So you go here for instant points and moving up on the death track. Keep in mind that when you take one of those white houses, it automatically reveals a number, and that means everyone gets less points during the scoring at the end of the round. Moving on and getting a bit more complicated. This space is where you buy a technology. That means you have a bonus or special power for the rest of the game. What each technology means you can look up in the rulebook. When you go here, first, you check which technology you're allowed to buy. That depends on the number that's on your dice and how many dice you have on the space. Then you pay the price for the technology. For example, this one costs 1 gold. Then you place one of your little discs to indicate that you now own this technology. Make sure you use it every time. Then you see this little icon attached to it. That means you can move up 1 space on this particular temple track. As always with temple tracks, you immediately get a bonus. So again, pay the price, place a disc, go up on the temple track. Also keep this in mind, whenever another player adds his or her disc to that same technology, you immediately get 3 bonus points. Don't forget it. That's how technology works. Then let's move on to the most complicated space on the board. The pyramid space. The board shows you how the action works. First, you choose on which level you are going to build. You can only build on a higher level if you are able to put a tile on top of 4 other tiles. For example, I'm allowed to place one here, but not here. Then you pay the price for taking that tile. Next, you get the points for that. Then choose and place your tile. Now pay close attention. Look at the symbols on your tile, and look at the symbols on the tiles that are already built. You get 1 extra bonus point for each symbol that matches, but you have to place it exactly on top of it. For example, here I see that if I turn this tile this way, 3 of the symbols are exactly the same as the symbols that I'm placing them on top of. That means I get 3 extra bonus points. And there's even more. If one of the symbols on my tile that I just placed was a match and it has a color, I've moved my disc up one space on the temple of that color. And you finish all this by going up one space on the pyramid track. Every single time you contribute something to the pyramid, you move up. If during your one turn you build 3 tiles, move up 3 spaces. Let me recap what you do when you come to the pyramid space. 1. Choose your level. 2. Pay the price. 3. Receive the points. 4. Choose a tile. 5. Place the tile. 6. Get points for matching symbols. 7. If a symbol on your tile was a color, go up on the temple track. And 8. Go up one space on the pyramid track. That was the pyramid space, and now the last one. It's a little bit easier. The pyramid decoration space. When you come here, you pay 3 gold, pick one of the decoration tiles, and place it to get points. Some rules on that. You must always place it on the lowest level on one particular side. You can't just start higher up if the bottom isn't decorated yet. Also, the little arrow on the tile must always point toward the center of the pyramid. And then, just like placing a pyramid tile, you get extra points for matching symbols. If the match has a color, you go up on the temple track. And finally, since you've contributed to the pyramid, you go up on the pyramid track. Those are all the actions you can do. I'll recap them for you. You go here to get stone, you go here to get wood, you go here to get gold. On this space you can lock your dice in to get a reward. Here you get a technology, which is a bonus or power for the rest of the game. Here you go to get points and go up on the death track. This space is to put tiles on the pyramid, and this one to put a decoration on the pyramid. Before I wrap this up, there is one more very important detail. As you remember, you often upgrade one of your dice after you've done an action. Now, when you turn a 5 to a 6, this means your worker dies. But don't worry, that's a nice thing. Here's what you do. Go up one space on the death track. Move the round marker one space closer to the end. Choose one of the bonuses you see next to the death track. And turn the die back from a 6 to a 1 and place it on space 1 of the board. So turning a die to 6 makes you go up on the death track and you immediately get a little bonus. We've about reached the end of this tutorial for Teotihuacan. There are 3 rounds and you basically know what to do when it's your turn. You have the scoring at the end of each round, and then, all the way at the end when you've done the scoring for the 3rd round, you could get some extra points if you've reached these next to last levels on the temples. You only do that at the very end of the game. What the bonus points are written on the board, and you can check the rulebook for what they mean. And after that last little scoring, the game is over. What I like about it is that one single turn can take quite a while and give you loads of stuff. Sometimes you get a lot for a little, and that just feels nice. I hope you feel ready to play your first game and that you'll enjoy it. Thank you for watching, and see you for the next one.